Hello everybody, I'm KC, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About. Today, let's talk about the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 6 finale, To Where and Back Again. So, we're finally talking about ponies again! Yeah, sorry I didn't cover a lot of the episodes in Season 6, but with all the different things I wanted to talk about over the past few months, something had to get pushed to the side, and sadly it was MLP. But this is the season finale, which is obviously a very big deal, especially given the premise. And it is an episode I have a lot of things to say about, which is always a good thing. So before we all get too caught up in the holidays, and before I get too addicted to Pokemon Sun and Moon, let's dive into To Where and Back Again, and see how Season 6 came to a close. The episode starts with Male Pony Derpy! I loved Male Pony Derpy. I know this was kind of confirmed last season, but it was a blinking and miss it moment. Right there. Yeah, right there. This time, Derpy is shown as a more active pony in town, and her little uniform is so cute up close. I love it. What? Oh, right, the plot. Sorry. Where was I? Starlight is invited back to her old village, but she's worried about returning after so long. Gee, I can't possibly imagine why. Alright, before we go any further, let's talk about Starlight's role in the season so far. Naturally, after what happened in Season 5, Starlight's reformation has been given quite a bit of focus throughout the season, having 5 episodes, including this one, dedicated to her. But even with all of that, some people still have trouble accepting her as the 7th Ranger. A lot of people claim that she's just Sunset Shimmer 2.0, which actually makes less sense the more I think about it, but while I think Starlight's character has been handled pretty well so far, integrating her into the main cast is a different story. Yeah, she's had about as many focus episodes as the rest of the main 6 tend to get in a season, which is a start, but beyond her focused episodes, Starlight hasn't been around much. She had brief appearances in 2 other episodes, but neither of those were speaking roles. With the rest of the girls, they pop up in episodes that don't focus on them for smaller reasons. The episode Flutterbutter is a good example of this. All of the main 6 appear in that episode, but Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash are the only ones who play major roles. The others are used for either conversation scenes or to help illustrate Zephyr Breeze's lack of drive. They're small parts, but important ones, especially to establish their relationship as close friends. The closest thing Starlight has to a role like this is the times they are a changeling, which is a step in the right direction. The show is clearly trying to give Starlight main character status, but they haven't gone all the way with it yet, and I do hope Starlight becomes a more organic part of the show in Season 7. Still, it was done pretty well. There are worse ways to introduce a new main character.
That's Minnie Moose, my other sidekick. Yep, been with me the whole time.
But like I said, as far as focus episodes, I really like Starlight's journey through reformation so far, her ups and her downs. But this is the ultimate test for her. With some encouragement, and accompanied by Trixie, Starlight decides to accept the invitation from her old village. But she gets overwhelmed when the villagers ask for help with the events, so she leaves. We'll come back to that. When Trixie and Starlight return to Ponyville, they notice that the main 6 and Spike are acting a bit strange. As it turns out, the group had been captured and replaced by the Changelings. Okay, we're just gonna address this and get it out of the way right now. Some fans have criticized this plot point, wondering just how it's possible that the Changelings were able to capture the main 6 and Spike, and Celestia, Luna, Caden, Shining Armor, and Florryheart so quickly, all off screen. Honestly, I thought the way they handled it was fine. Starlight was gone for a while, and it's been a while since we've seen any of the other princesses. This could have been going on for a while for all we know, and even if it wasn't, I don't mind this being done off screen, because for the sake of time, having them be captured on screen would have been rushed and sloppy. Plus, I like seeing this through Starlight's eyes, and not being entirely sure what's going on. The reveal is done really well, and would have been a big surprise if the episode had been aired in the UK 2 weeks early, but regardless. Honestly, I think the only thing we missed out on was seeing how well the Changelings were impersonating Celestia and Luna. That could have been fun. Besides, they captured royalty before. Why is this so surprising when the whole army is on the job? I really don't get why this is such a big deal to some people. Point is, they pulled it off. So, with all of Equestria's greatest protectors missing in action, who's going to save the day?
Well, isn't this quite the combination of secondary characters?
So Starlight, Trixie, Discord, and Thorax have to rescue the main 6 and the princesses from Queen Chrysalis and the Changeling Hive. It's like the greatest fan fiction ever made. And I mean that in the best possible way. When I heard this was going to be the premise, I was very, very intrigued. Sure, it's always fun to see Twilight and the others save the day, but MLP has developed such a great ensemble cast with diverse personalities and abilities that it's nice to see other ponies get the spotlight. And not only is this a great group of characters to send out on an adventure, but I really like the fact the characters stripped of their magic are the ones most well known for their magical prowess. It makes this journey even more of a challenge than it would have been if, say, the main six lost their powers. None of these four are particularly seen as heroes, so putting them in the middle of a situation that's already unusual for them while taking away their most well-known strengths is a setup I loved the more I thought about it. Plus, as the episode keeps mentioning, if Discord had his powers, this whole problem would have been solved like that. But by far, the best thing about the situation is the interactions. Oh my god, the interactions. It reminds me of something the Nostalgia Critic says. You get good characters with strong personalities together, and the material writes itself. This is excellent proof of that. There are a lot of great examples, but by far the highlights are the moments between Discord and Trixie. For a pairing I never thought I'd see outside of fanfiction, they work really well off each other, and it makes for a great clash of personalities. It was very entertaining, and I really hope this isn't the last time these two have a scene together. A focus episode in season 7 would be amazing. Hell, I'll even settle for a Friends Forever comic. Just give me more of this. It's gold. And because most of the characters don't have their magic, it forces them to think outside the box to get to the Changeling Hive, which leads to more clever strategies, and therefore, more clever writing. I really enjoyed how much this group had to think on their feet without their signature powers, whether it was intuition, or non-magical skills, or inside knowledge, or bad stand-up. Lately, some fans have been concerned that the writers were relying too much on Discord's surreal magical abilities for visual gags, rather than clever comedy. Though most of those concerns really only seem to stem from What About Discord. But this episode proved that Discord can be just as wildly entertaining without his magic. Also, it's a small detail, but I love that he runs around on all fours. But we can't talk about Discord without mentioning one of the cruelest scenes in the entire show. I don't even think I need to say anything. It's a horribly clever trap, and I had no idea Andrea Libman could sound so despicable as Fluttershy. So because this brilliantly horrible scene pretty much speaks for itself, I'm just going to point out this line.
I mean, I'm separated from the group and just happened to come across the one pony I care most about.
If you listen closely, you can hear thousands of Fluttercord shippers latching onto that line like a life raft. Now, this may be an odd time to change direction, but I want to take a minute to talk about the Changeling Kingdom, which, while there has been a ton of fan speculation on the Changelings, and I mean a ton, there's been next to nothing in the show itself. We know that they have a queen, they feed on love, and they can shapeshift, and that was about it. Here, we get the whole package. The rules and functions of their kingdom and society, and what it looks like. And it looks kind of familiar.
That's my lover,
In fact, the reason our group of guest stars can't use their magic is because Queen Chrysalis' throne is made out of a material that absorbs and suppresses non-changeling magic. Makes you wonder where they got that. Oh, it's not a complaint, I'm just curious. After all, if Chrysalis has this material, who knows who else could get it? I'm just saying. But eventually, Starlight comes face to face with the queen of the... Ow! Ow! Ah!
Whoa! That is messed up!
What is with the shapeshifters in kids shows? Do they always have to have such bone-chilling dramatic entrances? Anyway, Queen Chrysalis is finally back in all her evil, hammy glory. Though still no voice modulation. So is it just gone now? Fine, whatever. Well, at least she got way more intimidating. If you ask me, she's a lot more threatening here than in a Camelot wedding. And this brings us to the climax. Now, over the years, I've noticed that every season finale has a dividing scene. That one moment or action that fans either love or hate. This is that moment. Fans seem to be split on the resolution here, and how the rest of the Hive decided to share their love so quickly. Where do I stand? Well, it's once again time to play Haver's advocate. There are two reasons why this resolution doesn't bother me. For one, the way the solution is presented. It's made pretty clear that Chrysalis was forcing the lifestyle of forcibly feeding on the love of others on her subjects, and either because of fear or ignorance, they followed blindly. But Thorax is a very strong example of another way of life, a way to gain more by sharing love with others, and how that will benefit you in the long run. Thorax is physical proof of it. The rest of the changelings saw him as a way out, a better way to live their own lives, and they took it. I'd buy this with that reason alone, but the main reason I think this works is that it's foreshadowed excellently, again, through Thorax. Of course, there was his brief cameo in The Crystalling, which had fans speculating for months on what it could mean before we even knew him. The Times They Are a Changeling was a much slower version of what we see here, of Thorax breaking away from the mold of his society, facing the challenges of his actions, and making a friend and staying in a new land that helped him live a new life. Even in this episode, we saw how sharing love changed him, physically and mentally. Thorax was the test subject for this moment, and through him, it's built up brilliantly. In fact, most of the finale is built up. What I really love about this episode, including this resolution, is how it was slowly built up on the events of the season. From the second we saw Thorax in The Crystalling, we knew they were building up to the season finale. But unlike when they built up to the finale last time, with Starlight popping up in the background and having a character mention time travel every now and then, this to me is much more natural. The Times They Are a Changeling was building up to this, for reasons we already discussed. No Second Prances was building up to this because it gave Starlight Trixie as a friend. Someone she would be able to trust for help in this unusual situation, and who would end up encouraging her to accept the leadership role that had been thrust upon her. Every little thing she does was building up to this because it shows why Starlight still doubts herself to be put in charge of anything. Because she still messes up, because she makes bad choices, and she's afraid of hurting any pony, and that she may not be as good as she thinks she's become. Maybe Starlight's lack of involvement in the season was intentional, because she didn't seem to want to get involved in anything, for fear of turning back into the closed-minded pony that she was if she was given too much power. But in the end, Starlight applies her knowledge from the mistakes she's made and learns from them, rather than using them as an excuse to doubt herself like she's been doing through the entire episode. She looks at a very similar situation in the Changeling Kingdom and treats it the way she now knows it should be. I love Starlight's speech of not leading with fear. And again, it shows how Starlight's redemption arc is different from the ones that came before her. The challenge of facing a role of leadership is something only Starlight has faced. The rest of the reformed villains, even Discord, just get kinda pushed to the side when they're reformed. The closest I can think of something similar to Starlight's journey is Sunset Shimmers, and even then it's different. Instead of not wanting the role of leader and only accepting it once it's the only option, Sunset did have obstacles to overcome, but she just kinda filled the role of leader of the group, and is more or less the main character of the Equestria Girls franchise now, but I'll go more into that when I eventually talk about Legend of Everfree. This is not what I expected them to do with Starlight, but I'm glad they did. If this doesn't make you a Starlight Glimmer fan, I don't know what will. And just when you think they're going to pull the redemption card again... Oh, thanks, Celestia. Even if I am a constant and vocal defender of the Reformation arcs on this show, I would not have been okay with this one. I just like Chrysalis too much as a villain, and given how strongly Chrysalis stuck to her way of ruling, it would not have worked to have her change her ways here. Thankfully, they mess with the audience's expectations, and Chrysalis vows revenge, now as a villain on the run. I certainly look forward to her next appearance. She is still a shapeshifter after all. There's a lot of potential here. So overall, To Where and Back Again exceeded my expectations, which were already pretty high, and was an excellent season finale. They made the most of this premise, giving side characters a spotlight and giving them each a chance to shine in unexpected ways. Though obviously the star here is Starlight Glimmer. In my review of the last season finale, when Starlight became a member of the main cast, I said I'd wait until she got more screen time to see how I felt about her. Well, a season later, I think she was a great addition to the cast. She's smart, talented, and adds a different perspective from the rest of the main six. I don't know if they would have come to the conclusion Starlight did about Thorax, and they may not have shown the changelings that they can change too, especially given their history with them. And I really do like turning the changelings good, and I look forward to seeing them be allies for Equestria. Maybe it was the new designs that turned people off. Honestly, I really like them. Except for Thorax. Not a huge fan of his change. Maybe if he spoke, I'd feel better about it. For some reason, he doesn't say a word after he transforms. Does love make him mute? Well, regardless, this was a fantastic way to end Season 6. Is it my favorite season finale? No, that honor still goes to Twilight's Kingdom, but this is certainly up there, and probably the most solid finale out of all of them. This season had a rough start, but I'm glad to see it had such a great conclusion. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.